everyone. My name is Jenna, but you guys can call me Jen. And welcome back to my channel, and welcome to the 4th episode of The Shared Shelf, my podcast where we talk about everything writerly and bookish and nothing in between with some friends. Is that how I start these? I don't remember. But today I'm joined by my lovely friend, Sofia. Hello, Sofia. How are you?
I am so great. How are you?
I love it. I'm doing good. I'm excited. We are currently filming this on May 10th. So tomorrow is release day for my book, and I'm losing my shit. Losing it actively, presently, all over.
I have seen it live, the way you're losing your shit. It's
she has
so
held it. She's held it in her hands. She's seen me lose my shit. It's a good time. It's a really good time. Anyways, yes, that's what we're here today to do. It's going to be a fun little switcheroo because the past 3 episodes of The Shared Shelf, you guys have seen me interview people, and now a people is going to interview me. A people, my lovely friend Sofia. Sofia, before we get into this, what are you currently reading?
I am currently reading a fan fiction that I will
love it.
But I'm also reading The Dead Romantics, which people say makes them cry, and I'm very excited because I'm in the mood for a good cry.
Yeah, I feel like that one's a good, like, I've heard, I have not read it, but I feel like it's a good feel-good cry, you know?
I hope so. I can't really see how there's going to be a happy ending, so we'll see how that goes.
Oh my God. I don't know if that one's a happy ever after. Woo! People are going to want to know what kind of fan fiction you're reading also. I can tell you that.
It is Hermione fan fiction. I don't think it surprises anyone, but that's fine.
Is it a popular one? Do people know the name of it?
I don't think so. It doesn't have that many reads, and I won't recommend it until I finish reading it, because what if it sucks in the end?
Valid. It's not My Immortal, so we're good.
No. I have some standards. Not many, but some.
Oh, I love it. All right. Well, let's get started. What do you got for me, babe?
I have so many questions for you. I have been brainstorming for a while. I asked the girls for help. They were no help at all. So it's all me. It's all my genius brain.
I love it.
And you might have answered these questions before, but you're just going to have to answer them again.
That's A-okay. It's all in one place now. It'll work perfectly.
So first, let's talk about your writing life.
Okay.
First, I want to know, do you remember the first story ever that the idea you had that you were like, I need to write this?
Oh.
Whether you finished it or not, but just like the one story that you were like, wow, this is my first, I'm going to write this.
Oh, that's hard to answer because since I was a kid, I was always like creating stories and like doing make-believe and stuff. So I don't know if like my story that I was writing at 6 years old counts, or if you mean like the one that I actually got inspiration.
You remember what it was about?
Yeah, it was about my dog. It's called A Puppy Named Rudy. I was like 5, 6 years old or something. It was just when I could start spelling and like putting words together. And my mom was like, "Oh, you want to write a story? I'll help you type it on the computer." Back when we had all like the house computer in the guest room kind of vibe, right? So it was a story about that, and I never finished it. But I feel like between that and high school, there was always something. There was always something that was brewing in my brain. There was. After I read like The Maze Runner in high school, my brain was just popping off with ideas. Never actually wrote anything, but I world built the hell out of it. And there was a contemporary romance that I did actually finish. That was my very first one that I finished. Finished the draft. I wrote a contemporary romance back in high school. It was in grade 11 or 12. I can't really remember. Time is a suit.
You still have it?
I gotta have it in my files somewhere.
Would you ever like rework it, or is it just like she's there and she's gone?
I mean, maybe one day. I was very inspired by Sarah Destin at the time because that was like my favorite author back in the day when I was like like romance specific author. But maybe I don't know. That one's kind of a deep cut. Oh God.
Well, I guess along those lines, is there a genre that you haven't written before, but you are really looking forward to kind of trying? And
Oh.
is there a genre that you think might surprise us you're interested in writing?
I don't know. I would never write like a thriller or a horror or a mystery. I say that. Who's to
Yeah.
say? Because I used to say I would never write fantasy back in high school because I didn't have the brain for it. And literally all I do is fantasy now. But thriller and horror aren't my genres. I don't really read them.
Mm-hmm.
Mystery is different because you can have mystery in every genre, right? It's just something
Mm-hmm.
that happens. I don't have the brain for mysteries. When I'm reading mystery books, I'm like, I can't figure this out. I'm just here. I'm just here for the ride. I don't know. But yeah, I've always wanted to be like, especially across like age ranges, I wanted to be an age blanket, writing for middle grade and for adult, and possibly for YA one day if I ever fall back in love with it. But I think one of the other ones was like, one day I'd like to try romance or something, or maybe more lit fic leaning romance, because I have ideas in my head that have been in there forever that I might do one day, just vibes. But yeah, I think if I was to ever dive into a brand new genre, it would be sci-fi, just because I love it, but I don't have the brain for technology, so that would be fun.
Well, that was something that really surprised me when you started talking about a second story and the next one in the series,
Hmm.
because they're both deal with couples, which really surprised me. I'm not very familiar with cozy fantasy, so I don't know if they necessarily always deal with couples, but I expected it more to be like heavy on the fantasy, not so much in relationship,
Yeah.
which for me is a huge plus because now I'm
Yeah.
more excited to read them. But I feel like you're kind of, this is like a good way to dip your toe into romance if you can
Yes.
have the blanket of fantasy in it.
Yeah, because I know like most of my fantasies I've written in the past have been like more fantasy heavy than anything else. There'll be relationships because obviously you have to have a relationship between characters, otherwise you don't have characters. They got to have some kind of relationship between each other.
Mhm.
But the fact that these are almost like romance books just set in a fantasy world is something that
Mhm.
I surprised myself with. And I was thinking about that the other day. I was like, will I ever write one of these that's not like romance based, like a
Mhm.
friendship based one? And I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know
because
if
they
I
are
would.
romance books, kind of like they're like
Yeah.
there's a lot of fantasy, but there's romance at the core of it.
Yes. They're not spicy, unfortunately, but
I mean, I've come to terms with it, and I've forgiven you for it.
I mean, I think it's just because
Would
I
you like
don't.
spies? That's a good question. Would you ever?
Would I? Yeah, eventually, probably would. It's just I know, like, I feel like everyone says this, but I know my parents are going to read this and my family's going to read it. And just like writing spice to me, I'll do it like every once in a while. I'll get like the inkling of a really spicy idea that'll come off of a scene that I'm writing. And just cause I'll write it and then I immediately take that and throw it in a different folder because I'm like, nope, this is taken out from the story because it has nothing to do with the story. It's just like the vibes of the situation that I'm like, oh, let's just play with it. So one day probably, but not
Maybe like an Emily Henry vibe, where it's like not really crucial to the plot, but it's like there and it's
it's
not
just there for fun.
big.
Yeah.
Or a short story collection of just the spice.
All those cut scenes. Here you go. Maybe. I mean, like, I will never say never to writing something because,
Mhm.
you always change your mind. You grow as a reader and as a writer. Because I know, like, back in high school, I used to say all the time, like, even though I read like exclusively fantasy, I was like, I don't have the brain for fantasy. Are you kidding? I'm only going to ever read like contemporary. I wrote one. And then I was like, what about fantasy though? So, and now I'm here and living in it. And, as a reader as well, going from being a YA fantasy lover to I don't really like it that much anymore and
Mhm.
exclusively read epic fantasy, like, you change.
Mhm.
You change.
Well, and since you've been reading since
Hmm.
you were a kid, kind of like nonstop until now, and you've kind of read in different genres,
Mhm.
what are some authors and books, I guess, that have like you think have influenced the way you write,
Ooh.
both in terms of like world building and characters, but also in like a technical sense, like just the way they craft the stories?
That's a really good question. I think What authors as a kid?
Not used to being on the spot, are you?
No, it's great. I think it's my head is just being like, don't talk about Harry Potter, because that happens every time it's brought up in conversation. But as a kid, that was what I was obsessed with. So that for sure. But I think now, as someone who's read so much more widely than that, I think like for my middle grades and stuff that I've written, for the middle grade that I have written, which I know we're not talking about today, but that one, like Percy Jackson was a big influence, and the way that it was structured, with the way of like Rick Riordan being like, here's a quest. Love that shit. I love it so much. And then for my fantasy, I guess, I don't know what for writing style has influenced me. Yeah, I don't think there's anyone in particular for that, but I think like Legends and Lattes, of course, for a second story, for the cozy fantasy vibes. And the way that he's an audiobook narrator, so he knows what makes a really good story and what goes into a good sentence, because he's read thousands of books out loud. And so his prose is incredibly snappy, short, and concise and to the point, right? Like it doesn't beat around the bush. But I also really love the like Aaron Morgenstern super flowery stuff that you get in like The Starless Sea. So when I'm doing my descriptions, I want to aim for something a little bit more lyrical with that, because I love a good description. Description is everything when you're painting an atmosphere. So I think, where is it? I love having my books right behind me. Hall of Smoke, I think, is probably one of the better fantasy books that I would consider close to my descriptions for fantasy stuff. Also because this is one of my favorite fantasy books ever. So that probably, I understand that my mic doesn't pick up my voice when I'm turned away. So that one probably, and just, I think like for Project Dragon, it was a lot of John Gwynne as my homie in the corner here. Homie, big epics, and he's over there too, because I had to split the books. But yeah, just a lot of like pulling from different people around, and especially like Brandon Sanderson's world building class. He has an entire like writing class that he's put up online on YouTube, which is really fun. And I followed the world building stuff of it, and it was so helpful. That man is so smart. I mean, he's Brandon Sanderson, but it's just, you pull from little things everywhere, right? It's, yeah, I don't know. I think it's kind of fun to think about.
Well, from the reviews that you've already gotten, I can say that your description has been highly applauded.
I know.
So you've accomplished that.
I was looking at that today because I'm a masochist, and I was like, what kind of reviews are out there already from all my ARC readers? And yeah, whenever someone mentions like it's well written, I just squee on the inside, because it makes me feel so good as someone who's just, I'm an editor. I say that 8,000 times all the day. I'm like, I'm a professional editor. I know how to make a good sentence. And then I'm like, do I though? Like, am I just in my own head? No, people like it. Like, it's good. So I like it.
And I think also, because I remember watching your vlogs while you were editing, and how one of the stages was you would read it out loud, the draft. And I think that would probably work perfectly with the way that you wanted it to be, flowery and lyrical, but also not clunky, and that it would come across well if someone was reading it out loud to you.
Yeah, that's one thing that I've always done through my editing for really anything. I would for my essays back in university too. Oh my god! I don't lose my voice, Jana. Come on.
Not today.
But I am at water. I'm okay. But yeah, I would always read stuff out loud, just especially like if I was bored out of my mind, or if it was 1 a.m. and I had to read some Sherlock Holmes. Like, I was just like, this is the only way I'm going to keep myself awake, is read stuff aloud. So bringing that to my writing has been able to make it a little bit more conversationally flowing, and like, so I get the syntax that I want across, because sometimes there's too many words in a sentence and I'm like, why am I stumbling? And then I'm like, yeah, there's too many words. I got to cut it down. So I think it's a really good editing thing to do, a self-edit for sure. And it does help with like readability and how you want the sentences to sound. Because I know you're also someone who's who's from the English faculty and has got multiple degrees now in it. So you're you know how it is to study poetry and get like the, you know, iambic pentameter of a sentence. So it's like chisel into our brains about the rhythm of a sentence. So
and yeah, and there's just something so delicious about a sentence that rolls off the tongue. You don't have to like hammer it to get at it.
Yes, it's those quotes that stick with you. You're like, God damn, that was like earth shattering.
How are people supposed to quote your book if it takes like 30 hours to say one sentence? It's ridiculous.
Come on, Charles Dickens, get with it.
Get with it. I know he needs advice.
Advice. He's 100% still alive and wanting advice from us book people on the internet. Yes.
Listen, he was getting paid by the word. He had to do what he had to do. We get it.
Honestly, homie could get it. Homie could get it.
His grind. And that's fine. We respect that.
Agreed.
Okay, so what is a piece of advice, both in writing or in publishing? Because you've self-published now, and I feel like that, to me, watching you do it was like I was overwhelmed for you. Like, it seems like such a huge task, and all these things that it's just you. Like, no one's gonna look it over and say, "Oh, you're missing this. You should do that. You should check this." It's all you. And I'm sure you had a lot of research on how to freaking do this. Yes. What's a piece of advice that you found really valuable that you think someone who's coming into it might find valuable as well?
I don't know if anyone's ever given me a piece of advice, because even though I know a lot of people in the like self-publishing sphere, not a lot of people. I follow people on the internet and I talk to them because they're now like friends of mine. But yeah, I don't know if there's a specific, there we go. God damn. There's always going to be one word. There's always going to be one. I don't think there was anyone specific who gave me like a piece of advice for self-publishing. But yeah, my biggest piece is just do your research. And get so many goddamn eyes on your piece of work. Like, don't just keep it to yourself and think it's the best thing in the world. You need other people to read it and tell you if it's okay, because you are so close to that story. You got to give it to other people. You gotta. But yeah, do your research and make people read your book to tell you it's good or not. So I think that's probably the best thing you can do. And then just general writing advice. Man, I hate giving writing advice, but the one thing is just read all the time. Read all the time.
I feel like that's huge, actually.
Yeah. Because that's where you get other inspirations for. That's where you really learn how to build a story, because you just suck in so many different stories. You understand the flow of a story that way. And you understand if something's boring in a spot, and you kind of figure out why, like nothing's really going on, that kind of thing. You just read everything. And don't just read in your genre.
Exactly, because I feel like this is so unrelated. Well, kind of. But as a fan fiction writer, I feel like I can see how my writing has changed depending on the fandom I was reading for. And it's so interesting how each kind of genre writes entirely different, like the things that they focus on. And how, even without meaning to, you start to incorporate it into your own writing.
Yes.
Not in a plagiarism way, in like an inspiration way.
Yeah, it's the copying or imitating is the best form of flattery kind of thing that you can say. Like, it's, as long as you're not literally plagiarizing it.
Yeah, it's just like the approach to writing that you're kind of getting inspired by, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so neat. And you got to read widely as well, because that's where you're going to get the most inspiration, is pulling out of your genre and pulling them in. Because like our friend Hannah, she worked at a bookstore. She now works as a librarian, and she talks about how books are shelved wrong all the time. And it's just because they break genre, right? They just, you ain't going to find, Emily St. John Mandel in the sci-fi section, but you're going to find it in the lit fic section, even though it's a sci-fi. Like,
it's so exciting though when like books kind of like you have to keep the genres fresh, otherwise it gets boring after a while. You have to bring in new things, otherwise what's the point, really?
Yeah, it becomes a little formulaic. And there are some wonderful genres. I will say, like, romance is quite formulaic, unless you're dealing with like erotica or like dark romance, right? Like that's not a happily ever after. But when you're dealing with like the marketable, pretty cartoon cover ones, those you understand that there's going to be something happening at the 75% mark that's going to break them up. And then they're going to get back together. It's going to be great. And then the epilogue is probably going to be them announcing a baby, getting married or something. Like, you just know.
Spoiler alert. Damn.
I know. But you go into it because that's what you expect from the genre. And you expect to be like, this is what I want to read. So it depends on that. But yeah.
Here's an interesting question. Would you be willing to kill off a character, even if you know they are your reader's favorite?
Oh, 100%. You haven't read any of my other books, have you? Outside of the cozy genre, my friend, I kill off so many people.
Oh my God, Jen.
I'm brutal.
Is this in your middle grade?
No, my middle grade is not. My
I was like, the kids.
I forgot about my middle grade for a second, but no, my YA fantasy that I shelved. There is, well, my main character gets regularly tortured because she's in a jail. There's another one of my characters, Nellie. She witnesses her like crush, her like childhood love, get absolutely murdered in front of her.
What in the world?
The prologue for Project Dragon has a man dying on his deathbed with a sword speared through his heart. So I love me some dark shit, babe. It's just you're just getting the cozy side of me instead.
Is that draft finished? Like, how is that in the works? Like,
Project Dragon?
Yeah,
it's in the works. I think I have like 40K down into it. It's like that one's a traditional epic fantasy, right? That's where you're gonna get the grim dark shit. You have a little girl who goes half blind, you know.
This is so cool though.
Yeah, thanks.
I mean, rip for the blind girl, but yeah, that sounds so cool.
It sucks for her. She becomes a fucking seer and has magic powers because of it, but I need to get back to that. I haven't had time because my brain has been consumed by my cozy fantasy series. But I will get back to my Project Dragon epic fantasy at some point. But yeah, I love writing the dark stuff. I don't know what it is. Sometimes being in the mind of somebody who's so different to you, it is chucking it down. It just started chucking it down. Oh my God. Anyways, if any of you hear any thunder, it is raining. It's raining. But yeah, being in the mind of someone that's so unlike you is, I don't want to say cathartic because that's not the right sentiment, but it's in that vein of like, it's just so fun to go completely out of your brain for a hot second and write someone who is so twisted and just believes in their own work, even though they are such a villain. Like, it's fun. I like it.
I feel like it would allow you to allow yourself to feel feelings that maybe you feel like you shouldn't feel.
Yes.
And you're like, I'm in my villain era, but it's for this character, I promise.
I'm in my villain era. I'm torturing a 16-year-old girl. Let's go.
This is all I've ever wanted.
That's all I ever wanted. Let's go. But no, yeah, I really enjoy the dark side. This is just a soft, little cozy side of me, you know?
A woman of many facets.
Yes. You will eventually get to see the other side one day.
Okay, and the last question, just for writing in general, do you take inspiration? Well, I guess it's because you write fantasy, right? So do you take inspiration from interactions you have with people or even people you know? And then off of that, do you ever get scared that people would notice something is based on them or an interaction they've had with you? And how do you kind of handle that? Like not exposing too much of yourself?
Yeah, I think in some instances, 100%, just because I don't know, like back in university, I took one of those like writer in residence, you know, I took the David Bergen one, the creative writing course after class. And one of the exercises was we had to write an entire scene just from dialogue. That's it. No markers of description, nothing else.
Oh my God.
And I low-key pride myself on dialogue because I understand how people talk. And it's really fun to just study dialogue instead. And I wrote an entire scene literally off a recording of what I had sat with my parents who were at their friend's house, and they were playing a game of crib, and they were talking about golf and a trip and something else all at the same time. And as they're playing, right, and you've seen people around a board game table, the way that their conversations move is so weird. In the middle of their game, they're going like 15-1, 15-2, and I'm like, what is happening? Like, it's so much. So just analyzing that is really fun. And I also work with kids. So, and the way that they speak, entirely different from the way that we talk. Right. So it's so interesting. And I remember having someone read my middle grade for the first time, and he came back and he's like, I'm a dad. And you literally, like, these are real kids. Like, that you got how they talk.
That's so cute.
So I think from that, I just do. But like specific situations, I've never really pulled from. I don't think. Like, I've had people call me out in the middle of D&D games being like, is this just like Siri from The Witcher? It's just like, yes, it is, and I didn't realize that. Like, so that kind of stuff kind of influences me. And specifically, there is a character in my middle grade who is based off of our friend Alexander, back before they were officially Alexander. Just from the vibe of, the little tiny little, like, kind of very queer little raven kid obsessed with Edgar Allan Poe. Like, just so like funny. If you distilled Alexander down to just aesthetics, that is what Frankie is from my middle grade. So sometimes I do take inspiration from that. And in a second story specifically, there's a character called Meg. Nope, there's a character called May, and she's based off of Meg from Meg's Tea Room. And so it just like the aesthetic and the vibe. And I was like, that's exactly that. So yeah, I do take from real life.
Well, I look forward to the day you write me in. So that will be fun.
I challenge you to find one who is you. We'll just have to see.
And I better have my party hat on. Oh, Jesus.
Of course. Really weird. I know the mirrored is too much. I can't.
Okay, so now we can go into a second story, which is really the reason we're all here.
My sons.
Your child, your baby. How nuts is it that you're holding a book you wrote in your hands?
Babe, it's unreal. Like, people keep asking me and they're like, are you excited? And I'm like, at this point, it's May 10th. The excitement is there, but it's not as intense as it was when I was first getting these things in the mail, because I think I've like spent the excitement. But tomorrow's going to probably be like a no work day because I'll just be so amped, like, release day, let's go. Yeah, it's unreal. Like, the feeling of having created something. It's like, I don't know if you've ever written something and then printed it off for the first time and you're like holding it physically, like even if it was just a really big essay or my like
thesis.
Your thesis, right? Like, it's unreal. You're like, holy shit. I wrote this, and it's always thicker than you expect it's going to be. You're like, it's only like 50 pages or 100 pages. It's not that much. And then you hold it and you're like, it's huge. Like, oh my God, so many trees.
So many trees like this.
I did this just so I could get my degree. Let's go. So it's like that. And I remember like printing off any manuscripts that I've ever worked on to then edit by hand, which I have done previously, is also a surreal experience because it's just makes what you've done on a screen physical and real. And then holding an actual book, a book of yours that you've done, so surreal. I don't even know. Like, even you, when I brought the proof to Sophie's that night and handed it to you, you were losing your shit.
Because it's like, yeah, I feel like I've been hearing about this book for so long, but it's just kind of like this idea, like very intangible. Like, it was just kind of there. And then I'm holding this book that looks like a book I can grab off a bookshelf at a bookstore. And I'm like, my friend wrote this. What the hell is this? Like, it's so bizarre. It's so bizarre. And I still can't believe it.
It's so unreal. Like, one day, because all of our friends are very creative in some kind of a way. Like, one day we're going to all have just shelves of work that we've all done and all worked on. Like, it's so strange, but so cool.
It's so cool. And the fact that other people that you don't even know are going to read it is even... Like what?
Like the idea that there are at this moment like 61 different paperbacks pre-ordered, the fact that 61 different people in this world who I might not know are gonna own a piece of my like mind physically on their shelf, unreal. I don't. It's a little creepy.
It's insane. And people are like paying for it. Like it's nuts.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
Yeah. I love it. It's cool.
What was your favorite, I guess, part of this book to write? If you want to go specific, like a scene that you really enjoyed, or just like an aspect of the story.
Huh. Well, I'm thinking back to when I did my like challenge when I wrote this thing for the first time. And I think when I was writing that, I was most excited to get to the parts that I had in my head that were like just festering for like years, right? The bits that I had in my head that had originally inspired Ari and Finn, or like bits like, because you know Ari was originally for a D&D campaign where he was just a straight up bastard, and like
I loved him. He was great.
He was awful, and just getting the chance to rewrite him and give him the happy ending that he wanted was unreal. But I think as I was writing, like the one thing that kept eating at me that I wanted to write and that I did end up letting myself just jump super far ahead and write was the ending. I just wanted that like final scene to be so like pastoral and lovely. And I just jumped forward when I was writing my like thousands of words every day. I was like, screw it. And I went to the end and I was like, hey, look at these little love. It was great.
I'm imagining writing the whole book.
Yeah, honestly, yeah, because like I'm on my couch, like hood up, chin out, like yes. That's just
for some reason when you said pastoral, I immediately imagined the Twilight scene on the field. So I'm like, that is Ari and Finn. They are Twilight.
The fact that Ari and Finn in that last scene are literally on a fucking hill looking over the town. No!
No, wait. Okay, here's everyone. Breaking news. A second story is Twilight fan fiction.
Oh,
there you
go. Oh my god. No, it's BBC Merlin fan fiction. Come on.
A crossover.
The crossover we all wanted. Twilight meets Merlin.
And even the beginning with the dandelions and stuff.
Yeah, good old wildflowers.
It's giving. Oh, the wildflowers. It's giving. I see it.
Yeah.
Also, just random question. How do you come up with the names? Because I feel like they're so cool and unique.
Oh, like the names of the characters?
Yeah.
Sometimes they just appear in my head with their names. Finn was one. I was like, immediately, it's gonna be Finn. And then I was like, it can't just be Finn though. Like it's gotta be short for something, you know? It's gotta be short for something that doesn't feel like our world.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay, well, that's great. And so whenever I'm like making stories or like coming up with character names, if they don't automatically come up in my brain, I'm like, all right, let me just look at this fantasy name generator. Let's go. And then I just start scrolling through until I see one that I like. And I'm like, nice. I think that's what I did with Ari. It's been so long. But because his name is like, I knew he was an elf and I was trying to find a name that would fit the elven vibe. I was like, let's go with Arlius. And now every time I say it, I'm like, oh God, no one's like, when you look at the name Arlius, it looks like Arlies almost. Like it doesn't look like Arlius. And the original D&D group that he was a part of, everyone mispronounced it. So it's fine. That's why I call him Ari. Yeah, he just goes by Ari. No one cares. But yeah, it's usually just either it springs in my head or I spend hours and hours on babyname.org or whatever it is, or the fantasy name generator. It just happens.
I feel like the hard part would be like sticking to it. I feel like I would be so indecisive and keep changing their names and things all the time.
It happens. Usually I'm pretty good at being like, okay, that fits the vibe. And I'll like write a list of like vibe names. If it's a main character, they do have to like hit and it has to make sense. But for Sage, who is a sage green tiefling in this book, she was also a D&D character that I had in my head that I never got to play. But I was like, I'm just gonna put her in this world because she's so fun. And I named her Sage because she's a sage green tiefling. Like, that's the color of tiefling she is. And I'm just like, yeah, her name is Sage because her parents were fucking on the nose. So they're just like, oh my God, little baby girl, Sage Green. Oh, she's named Sage. Let's go.
So cute.
So yeah, it's things like that. It's like, let's go. Sometimes they stick, and then it'll be the only name in your head that stays forever. But then sometimes, like I have for book 3, the main character, the girl immediately named, but then the love interest, I was like, I literally have no idea what I want to name them, and I'm like, I don't know what to do. I spent hours scrolling on those fantasy name generators, and finally found one, and I was like, oh God, that was a lot. Sometimes the names work, sometimes they really don't. So
can you tell us the names again for anyone that doesn't know?
Sure. I don't think I've ever mentioned those names.
Have you not? I feel like you have in your vlog. Have you not?
For a little luck, I have for book 2. It's Lottie and Karandir.
Okay, yes. And then this one is the third one?
This one's the third one. Oh. So the third one, Hot T, is gonna be between Mary. So her name is Meri, Mary, and Zanvi or Zanve. I'm not entirely sure of the pronunciation. Zanve? I don't know, but it's Zanve. Because I think I mentioned it to one of the group chats that I'm in that's like D&D specific, and they were like, when I wrote the name down, I was like, how would you guys pronounce this name? And like all of them were like Zanve. And I was like, oh, well, that's not what I had in my head. I had Zanvi in my head, but
I would have gone Zanve if there was an H at the end.
I don't know. Anyway, yeah, those are the 2.
That's exciting.
Yes. And the Zanvi's gender is to be determined. Because they were in my head. I was like, okay, it's going to be a non-binary and female pairing, and then Zanvi is just so god fucking damn masculine in my head, and I keep accidentally calling them the he. So I don't know what's going to go on with him. So or with them. God fucking yep.
I think your brain has decided.
I think so. Yeah. But yeah.
Okay, so you told us about the best part, the most fun part. What have you found to be the hardest part of writing this book specifically?
Interesting.
Did you ever struggle at all?
Did I? Maybe. What did I struggle with? I feel like there's always a struggle with the middle for me. Always, no matter what book I write. I think the middle was, if I'm trying to remember correctly, I drafted this in 25 days. I don't know. It was so fast. Yeah, I think it was the middle. I think because it just like the way that like actually like drafting it was the middle. But like if I came back and was editing it when I was editing it, the beginning gave me the most grief because it was the story that I had in my head that originally when I plotted a second story out, it was just a prologue. And then I was like, no, there's too much story here. Let's gotta make it so many more chapters. And then I gave it to betas and they're like, there needs to be more here. And I'm like, guys, it was supposed to be just a prologue originally. And I found it like it gave me a lot of grief because it was also a weird pacing, the way that it was structured that way then. And I am a story structure whore. So I just like, it was weird pacing and that gave me grief. But the beginning I think was probably on the editing side, the hardest to craft. But when I was actually writing it, it was the middle. Cause there's always like, what are they doing? They're just walking around a town. Like how many times can you describe walking around a town? It's hard.
Especially when you were so excited to write the ending too.
Yeah. And I think maybe the most emotionally hard part was the end of part 4 and the beginning of part 5. Even though I knew it was fine, it was just like, it was just emotionally like, my sons. But you'll find out.
I actually have a question here. Have you cried writing this book at all?
This one, I don't think I've actually like brought tears to my eyes, but there's always a feeling when I get to the ending where it's like, oh no, I have brought tears to my eyes. I'm such a crier, so that makes sense.
I love it. I love when you cry, you know that.
But it's not that it's sad in any way, but there's a goodbye in this, that when I originally wrote it, I was just like weepy eyed. I was just like, because it was like the end of the book too, so like all those feel good feelings were there, because that's usually what gets me. But every time I finish reading through this book or editing it, I get to the ending and I'm like, I feel so warm inside. And it's that like warm feeling, like super happy, that makes me teary. But yeah, the chapter, I can't even say the name of it because that's going to give the spoiler away. I'll tell you the number. Chapter 42. It makes me cry, just because it's like,
I'm so excited to read it.
you just make that sound in your head all the time. It's fun.
What about the publishing process? Did any of that make you cry?
I came close to it. I came close to it. I think because the whole thing was so interesting to like research and like learn all the new stuff about. Somebody's on your end of the phone.
I cannot hear anything.
It's the Wii U machine.
Yeah. So I totally could not hear you for like 3 seconds there.
Yeah. I was like, someone's dying on the end of yours. It's fine.
That's so selfish of them. We're recording a podcast.
Like, get it together.
Jesus.
But no, publishing. It was such a cool learning curve because as a Virgo, I love me some structure. I love me having the choices to do whatever I want. Like, it's so nice to have my fingers in all the pots because I have the control. It's also terrifying because I have the control. No one's telling me what I have to do or what I have to choose. So it's just me being preference-y and picking what I want. But the part that nearly brought me to tears was, I think, the whole like ending, like formatting Ingram Spark bullshit that I went through. Like, Atticus was a time like I like the formatting program that I got. It's fine. It's buggy and it does some stuff, but it has cost me like $150 plus after what I spent on it, just because of the formatting setting that got reset when I was submitting to Ingram, and I didn't notice after I had already paid the $100 revision. So it was just an upsetting moment of like midnight trying to get my book submitted, and I'm like, I just paid $100 and I know already that I'm gonna have to pay another $30 for this revision. Like, you sit there and you're like, I'm so done. I'm so defeated. Like, I don't even know. And then all the Ingram Spark stuff with the distribution percentages and stuff. Like, I sat for a while after I'd learned about all that, and I was just like, well, I don't even know what to do now. Like, it's the point of like, no one's here to be like, okay, this is like the next steps that you're gonna take. I just sat on my couch and I was just depressed. I was just like, I'm defeated. I don't know. And like the next day I was fine. And I was like, okay, we're going to learn about drafted digital. Like, we're going to go on a little researching adventure. But in the moment, it's like, but I don't think I've ever.
Especially when you're so close to being completely done.
Yeah. And it's the relief of like hitting submit and thinking I'm done. And then literally 5 seconds later, it's like, you thought.
Yeah. And the financial drain is also not fun at all.
Yeah. Especially when you're carrying it all on your own back. And you know, like $200 worth of this entire endeavor was like unnecessary.
Right.
Yeah. To spend because it was user error and just like not being so careful. And then Ingram deciding to take away the fucking revision fees a week after I submitted it.
It was evil.
Truly. And I couldn't even like, even if I had waited, I couldn't have done it because there's like a deadline for how soon you have to get your shit in so that they have time to start printing stuff. Right. So like it was April like 27th was the deadline. And then they changed all their shit on May 1st. And I was like, come on, it's fine. Spent so much money on fucking Ingram Spark. And for what?
But I feel like this will be really helpful when you're publishing the next one. I feel like now you'll have all this experience.
For sure.
And hopefully it'll save you a lot of money.
Hopefully I can make it back. That's what my parents keep talking about.
Some of the expenses were one-time expenses, right?
Exactly. So, yeah. Like Atticus was a one-time expense. Just the absurdities of Ingram Spark was one time. Like a lot of it's just up front kind of stuff. And going into book 2, I know it's going to be a fraction of what I spent on this one. I didn't even spend that much money. Like I've watched so many other people, so many other indie authors like number breakdown, and they're in like the 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 range. And I'm like, oh my God, like how are you going to make that back? Especially if you don't hit it big, right?
Yeah.
And even as someone with like, I don't have a lot of disposable income regularly, right? It's just like I had to save for a lot of this stuff, so I was trying to do it budget friendly. And a lot of things that I did, I was just like, this is an unnecessary $200 that I just spent, but it's necessary because I need to do it. Like if I don't, nothing's going to be out there, right? Like my book is not going to be out there. But yeah, I think it was just that.
But I think you also saved a lot of money in teaching yourself new skills, like doing the maps and stuff. You didn't have to pay anyone to do that, right? Like, and you earned a skill. I feel like that'll really like be worth it in the end as well.
For sure. Yeah. And a lot of it going forward is just like, okay, I now know, I have learned, I will do better next time.
The maps are crazy, by the way. Like how like I was looking at them and I'm like, what do you mean you made like that makes no sense. Like, look at them. Those are like maps. Like, that's insane.
Yeah, I did. Where is the front? Here it is. I did this one originally when I was like creating my whole realm that I was going to do like D&D campaigns in and eventually like write stories in. I did that map on like an online program. I think it was Incarnate or something that I did it on. And it's like a actual program that you can just like fiddle with. And I spent so long messing with that program. It's so much fun. But it came out like all color. And I knew that I couldn't do a color map in here. And like taking that and turning that into black and white wouldn't look good. It needs to be an actual like drawn black and white map. So I took that and then I traced it and I redid it like in like Procreate. But yeah, I surprise people sometimes because people forget that, or if they didn't know me my whole life, I also love drawing and love art, but I don't do it very often because
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I loved art back in high school. I took all of the art classes. It was just my favorite thing. Painting, favorite thing. I can sketch. I can do so much. Probably not very well anymore, but yeah, I really enjoy it. So it's when I was like, yeah, I'm gonna just like spend some time doing some maps.
You do the little chapter things too, right?
Yeah, all the chapter headers, and there's 5 chapter headers. 1, 2, I think there's 5. 4, yeah, there's 5. Okay, there's 5 chapter headers. So they're all different like versions of book stacks, and then there are 5 parts. So there are 5 different part drawings. There's like the dandelions. Now you got me saying dandelions. There's a lot of flowers at the beginning. There's one of a ship. There's one of a bookstore. There's one of a lighthouse. The lighthouse keeps making appearances everywhere because it's just, I love it so much. So, yeah, it's you learn budget friendly ways of doing this because you could do it all yourself.
Maybe one day you'll draw your own cover once you practice.
Oh God, I wanted to at one point. I was like, what if I just like try it? So I have like a half done cover in on my Procreate app, and it's not good. It's not good at all. I'm not comfortable with a lot of color based internet art. Is that how that is? No. You know what I mean? Like not like physical art. What's it called?
Digital?
Thank you. Digital art. Jesus Christ. I'm more comfortable with like sketching and like doing black and white gradients of stuff. Even then, like doing that on Procreate was hard. Maps I'm good with. It's very easy. There's like it's just shapes and colors, man. Shapes and shades, not even colors because it's not colored. But yeah, and I'm glad that Tessa was able to do something better.
She's so talented too.
Oh my God, I know.
And also how lovely to have your friends work on your work. Like that's nuts.
Yeah, it's so
That is
cool.
yeah.
It's so cool.
So you said that sometimes you take inspiration from people to write your characters. Do you see yourself in Ari and Finn at all? And this can be both in positive ways and negative ways.
Yeah, yeah. Ari is me. Ari is all me. He's just an anxious man. He's just
This is especially funny because you introduce him as an asshole in the
I mean, like, he just became the worst kind of bastard in that campaign, and that's all me, because that's all D&D was, right? It's just you. And so I don't know what side of me came out for that, but yeah, no, Ari has my anxiety, unfortunately. But it's okay.
Do you think it helped you kind of like work through your own anxiety to write it through him?
A little bit. I think the next book, A Little Luck, when I first wrote it back in November, when I first started writing it, when I was going back to read through it, I was like, "Ooh, I'm treating this book like therapy. Let's go!" Like, so much got cut out of that original book because I was just like, "This is not necessary. She's just being moody on the beach. Like, this is no, this is just sad. She's so depressed. Oh my God." So a lot of it's that, but yeah, I always give my characters a little bit of something from me. Or I think in Finn's case, it's a lot of just like what I want in a person, if that makes sense, like elements of that. But yeah, no, I think if you read any of my characters, you recognize me in some of it. Like, it's just there. It's just there.
That makes sense if you see yourself as Ari and kind of like who the person that, you know, is going to be your perfect match would be.
Yeah.
And I kind of wonder too if us as your friends that know you, when we read it, we might see sides of yourself in them that maybe you are not even aware you wrote into them, you know?
Oh, probably. Probably. I pride myself on being pretty self-aware, but there are instances where you guys call me out on my shit, and I'm just like, oh yeah.
There are limits to everyone's self-awareness.
Yeah, that's very true. And I think in a lot of the books that I write, no matter what character it is, there's bits of me in it, because that's so, you cannot get away from that when you're doing a main character, right? You're doing, it's the whole like write what you know thing. Even though, like, as I was explaining earlier, it's really fun to be in someone's head that doesn't match you at all. But when you're in your main character's head, it's like the antithesis of that villain that isn't like you at all, which is you, right? So you give your characters things that you are either aware of or you're not. So it's, I'm interested. You'll have to tell me when you read this.
I know. I'm so excited. I'm gonna psychoanalyze the heck out of you.
Please do. Please do. That'll be really fun.
What if you, let's say your characters are real, they're standing in front of you. First, do you think you would get along with them and they would like you back? And second, if you had to give them a piece of advice each in like a sentence or two, like you have to keep it brief, they're about to, you know, disappear into another world, you have to tell them this piece of advice so they can have a good life, what would it be?
Okay, so first question is, if my children were standing in front of me, would they like me and would I get along with them? With Ari and Finn, yes, just because Ari is me. Him and I would just like chill out in a bookstore together and like talk about literature and have, you know, those like just sitting in a room being quiet together would be fine. And then Finn and I 100% would. He's charming. He's just like makes friends with everybody, which is also me a little bit now that I'm saying that, because I'm a chameleon. I get along with everybody because I know how to like mold myself to be like that. He's less like that. He just is nice and everyone likes him, but it's molding. Sage 100%, my little tiefling nugget. I would love her to pieces. I would want to protect her at all times because she's just this little excited adventurer. Yeah, I feel like I would get along with everybody, just because I get along. Well, I get along with everyone. I think they would all like me too. Just, I don't know if I would be like best friends with any of them though, other than like
I am your creator, you will like me.
Yeah, I think like In the case of Sage, I talk about Sage so much because she's getting her own book, so she's living in my head rent free. She's getting her own series, not her own book. She's getting her own series, which is a lot. But Sage, I just want to protect. I want to be like her older sister or her mom. Like I just want to protect her. So I don't know, like the best friend vibe would be a little weird with her because I just want to protect her. I just want to keep her safe. But with Ari and Finn, I feel like I'd be more friends with Ari than I would be with Finn. It would be like the way that you're best friends with someone and then you're friends with her boyfriend, you know?
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Yeah.
But like better friends.
Yeah.
Not just like an acquaintance. Like, oh yeah, that's that man who's living in my friend's house. It's just like, okay, no.
The difference with like the friend that you can be quiet with and it's not a thing. And the friend where like you're constantly having to like bring stuff up that you enjoy talking about, but it's like
yeah, for sure. For advice, oh my god, I would tell Finn to sit just for like 3 seconds and think. He doesn't like to sit in his own head. Funnily, and it's like me too. Fun. Shit, we're just psychoanalyzing this whole thing. Oh my god, I'm gonna have fun talking to my therapist in a couple weeks. Hey!
You should have her read it to fully understand you.
Apparently, that'll be fun. But Ari, I would tell just to like chill out. Just chill out. Sometimes it's fine, my guy. You're good. Yeah, I think by the end of the book they kind of learn both of those lessons anyways, but it's a little bit of that. And then what are the other ones? What other advice would I give? I think Sage is the only other one that's really prominent in the story. I mean, there's Sherville and there's May, but they're like May's the cafe owner and Sherville is Sage's grandpa. So like they're a little just more on the outskirts of it all. With Sage, I'd just be like, just fucking be careful, please. Just chill and be careful. Homegirl just wants adventure so bad.
No. Also, I've just noticed I've slowly descended into just darkness around me.
Yeah.
And we love to see it.
You're just a floating head now. That shiny hat.
And like, so how do you feel about like Finn and Ari's story is done? How do you feel about leaving them behind? Like, even if they show up again, you're kind of done with their story, right? How does that feel? Are you warning them in a way, or?
I haven't really thought of that. I think it's because every time I get to the end of the book, it's that like bittersweet, like heartwarming feeling that I hope it gives to everybody when they're not bittersweet, but to me it's bittersweet because it's done. Mm-hmm. But it's like that warm feeling at the end that I'm like, okay, well, their stories, that part of their story is done, and now they're just living on Air Mountain. I think because I do see them in the next book, and I do have a conversation with them in the next book with other characters, they're still there in my head. Mm-hmm. So it's not like a signed, sealed, delivered, I'm done with the world kind of vibe, and I'm not going to look at them again. But I think because I've, like, the last edit that I did ended with just the catastrophe of the Ingram Spark thing. I'm so done with like touching the book that I'm like, I don't even want to look at it anymore. But yeah, it's definitely a little strange because now my focus is so heavily on A Little Luck, which is the next one. And those characters, it's now that you're mentioning it, it's a little weird. It's like my boys, but I mean, they're always there. They just have to go say hi, you know? It's just like, hello, boys. You're right there. It's okay.
Especially because it's your first book of appearance. So I feel like they'll always kind of hold a special spot in your heart.
Oh, I love it. That was perfect.
Is this the cat in your story? Maybe it could be.
I mean, Sophie the bookstore cat is a brown cat, so a little different, but
close enough.
Close enough.
Okay, so now for some like fun questions. Let's say we're making a film adaptation of the book. Who are you casting to play these characters?
Okay, well, I know for sure Finn is the guy who plays Gwaine from BBC's Merlin. I gotta look up his name because he's his face claim. I don't remember his name though. From Merlin. What's his name? What's his actor's name? No one's helping me. Okay, his name is his name, he's Irish. I don't know how to say that name. Is it Owen? I think his name is Owen. Owen Mackin. It's Eoin. Owen Mackin, probably for Finn.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's his face claim. I have no idea who I would pick for Ari. Just scroll through my Rolodex in my head for a second. Because all of the art and the stuff that I have on Pinterest for him is art that people have drawn. They're not people.
I always think of The Witcher. But I think it's
Henry Cavill.
I think it's
he's so not Henry Cavill though. Like Ari is tall and lanky. He's not the tiny little Superman buff man.
What about the guy from House of Dragon, the bleach blonde one? Is it Matt Smith that plays it?
Matt Smith?
Because his face is kind of angular and he's like lanky and blonde.
Maybe.
You need to work on this for when you pitch it.
Oh my god. Hold on, let me just look up elves from Lord of the Rings. I feel like there's one in there that is in my head. It's not him. You know. It's not the main guy.
Orlando Bloom?
Thank you. It's not him.
Okay.
I was like, Legolas. Why can't I think of Legolas's actual name? I feel like it's literally put any guy in a white wig and it would be okay. Like I don't know enough actors to tell you who I would choose. Oh God. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like for Ari it would have to be someone who's not well known. Who's a little bit tall and skinny.
How is he young? How old is he?
Well, he looks young, but he's an elf. So he's in his hundreds.
Well, something to think about.
Yeah. I mean, the whole thing in here is like they're tired. They're kind of tired and they talk about being old. Like just being like, I can't do this anymore. I can't be on the road. I need a bed. Like I can't sleep on the side of the road.
Same.
And I'm like, I say that as a 25-year-old. So but they do meet another party. Sorry, this guy is like dark blue green, and it's a little freaking me out a little bit. It's fine. That's not Tornado Sky. That's okay.
No,
Tornado Sky is greener than that.
Okay, hold on. I'm gonna turn on the light because this is ridiculous. Okay. Give me a second.
What was your question? We were talking about Ari's face claim, right?
Yes.
Okay. What do I say? Just Pedro Pascal. Let's go with just Pedro Pascal. No, that man is so not it. Honestly, I would cast Pedro as Cherville, which is so funny because Cherville's like 70 years old, and I'm like, Pedro could do it. I know Pedro's in his 40s, but Pedro could do it.
Pedro can do anything he wants.
Yes, let's dress him up as a dark blue demon man with horns and a tail. Let's do it.
I love it for us. I can see the TikTok edits already.
And Sage, I think I would cast oh my god, I have a perfect picture of her in my head and I can't remember what her name is. What is she in? She looks a little bit like Maribel from fucking, was it that Disney movie?
Encanto?
Yes, thank you. She looks a little bit like that, and I can't remember what actress looks like Maribel, but it like that, but just green. Just green. I keep looking at Ari's face now, and all I'm seeing is Matt Smith. So I guess we're going with Matt Smith in a wig.
That'd be hot. He's hot.
He is. Matt Smith in a wig and Gwaine from early 2000s. Early 2000s. I don't think he looks the same anymore.
Doesn't matter. We can get back to that.
Yeah. And then Pedro Pascal as a dark blue tiefling.
I love it. Okay, next question. And
Okay.
I'm counting on you to be hip with the trends here.
Oh God.
So if I said about your main characters, he's a 10, but what is his butt? What is your butt?
What is their butt? Which character do you want me to do first?
Let's do Ari first.
Okay.
Our boy.
He's a 10, but
More sirens.
yeah, it's okay. It's allowing me time to think. He's a 10, but he doesn't. He's a 10, but he won't realize that you're in love with him.
It's a good one. He sounds toxic.
No, he's just dumb. he's just thick. He's like, no, he can't love me. And the man in question loves him very much.
And what about Finn?
Oh God, the only one that's coming to mind.
Sorry, is it ice falling?
Oh, is it hailing?
Oh my God, what the hell? What's going on?
What's happening? It better not be hailing.
The universe just was not ready for your book.
Apparently. I already submitted a claim for damage on my card today. I don't need hail. God damn. Yeah, the only thing that's coming to my mind with Finn is an extremely spoilery point. I mean, like it's not mentioned on the back of the book. It's literally like you find it out in like chapter 3, but every time I like get readers messaging me, it's about chapter 3 and they're just screaming and I'm like, this is the reaction I want. So let me try to think of a different one. No, fuck it. We're gonna do spoiler warning. If you don't want to know, come back to this timestamp that I'll put on the screen. It's gonna be like just skip ahead a little bit, but he's a 10, but he's secretly the royal assassin that you're hunting.
I love that. I love that. What?
Yep, there you go.
It's given dagger to the throat moment. I love that for us. I am so excited to read it. Like, it's not even funny.
Oh, I'm excited for people that I know to read it. Like, the only person that has gotten kind of anywhere in it is Sophie, and she's just read the first part of like 2 drafts ago. So she stopped, which is fine because I know she's not a fantasy girly, but it's not that fantasy EE. Like the most fantasy you get is right in that first part. It's just them in a town having fun. But
I think her and I are the same. Where like we're not fantasy girlies, but if we had to, it would be cozy fantasy. Probably. Yeah. So I think it's gonna be good for us.
I think so. I mean, both you haven't read a very secret society of a very secret society of irregular witches. This happens every time I say that title in full.
It's a bit of a tongue twister, to be fair.
Yeah, but Sophie loved it. So
it sounds magical. I'm excited for that one too.
It's very magical. It's very good.
Okay, and now we will do the game, which has to be rapid fire. You can't get caught up in your head.
Okay.
So it's a twist on an old Tumblr classic of cast your mutuals, but we're going to do it as cast your characters.
Okay.
So we'll give you a category, and you have to tell me what Finn and Ari, what you would cast them as in this category. Okay. It's not what their favorite blank is what they embody. Like, what would represent them if they were this thing?
Okay.
Okay. So first we'll go desserts.
Ooh. Okay. Ari would be a lemon meringue pie.
Ooh.
And Finn would be a tiramisu.
Ooh.
Sage would be straight up hard candy.
Ooh.
May would be coffee cake, and Sherval would be biscotti. I was like, those really hard fucking cookies.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Those are the main.
This is really interested now. What about colors?
Colors? Oh my god. Okay. Ari would be pale yellow. Finn would be. Oh, my brain went from green to blue. So like somewhere in there, some kind of a bluey green, or red. I don't know. Sage would be purple, contrary to her name. Sherville would be gray, like a gloomy sky gray, gloomy screen. And he's also the lighthouse keeper, so like
that fits him. Yes.
Stormy skies. And May would be sunset orange.
Ooh. What about drinks?
What kind of a drink?
You can do whatever you want.
Alcoholic or non-alcoholic?
Whatever you think fits them.
Good, because I don't know that many alcoholic drinks. Okay, so Ari would be an iced vanilla latte.
Ooh, that's my favorite.
Finn would. I love the thunder that's echoing on your side of the screen right now.
I am at the lighthouse, actually.
Oh, it just sounded over here. Oh my god, that's how far away we are from each other. Sherville would be a cup of just straight like black coffee, like the darkest of your soul, you know, most bitter bullshit you can have. I feel like Sage would be like a Shirley Temple or something bubbly that you can get at the bar for kids, you know. This is the vibe. She's like literally 18, 19 years old, but in my head, she's just a little kid, just a little child. Finn, I think, would be some kind of beer or ale, like a dark brew. But I don't know beer enough to really tell you.
That's fine.
Who else? May? Like an Earl Grey tea.
Cute. That's cute.
I like this. This is all vibes.
What about zodiac signs?
Oh, Christ. I don't know enough about zodiac signs. Shit. Okay, hold on. Let me pull it up. Correctly.
Do you ever give them a birthday in the story?
Sometimes, but because this is a fantasy world that runs in D&D time, it's not on our calendar. So it's like I would have to create the whole goddamn calendar to give them a birthday.
Well, that means it gives you freedom to literally pick a zodiac sign for them.
True.
Just by vibes.
Very true. I feel like Ari's a Virgo because I am.
Wonder why.
I wonder why. And I feel like Finn's probably something with like a Scorpio Leo situation.
Love that for him.
May's a Cancer. Most like my mom. I feel like Sage is a fucking like Libra or Capricorn. I don't know. Something fun and funky. Yeah. I don't know what that means, but it's there.
I love that for Finn. I think the Scorpio is very sexy of him.
Okay. Good to know.
Now this one, you don't have to apply it to everyone, but Taylor Swift albums.
Okay. Sage, Fearless. Ari, Folklore. Just for Peace. That's it. Just for that song.
Well, that person's coming, so don't spoil it.
Oh, sorry. And I think, weirdly enough, my man Finian is a combination of 1989 and Reputation.
Ooh. I feel like that fits his Scorpio vibes.
Yeah, apparently. Apparently we're just making him canonically a Scorpio.
Okay, so then what about Taylor Swift's song?
Oh my god. I feel like Peace for the Vibes is a good song for Ari and Finn together. Nice. Even though the lyrics aren't really quite there. Let me just go through my Rolodex of Taylor Swift songs. Hold on.
This question is literally tailored to you.
So. Yes. I'm such a fucking Swiftie. It's so good. Finn is Getaway Car.
Oh, dude, this guy is so sexy. I can't wait.
Finn is Getaway Car. Oh my god, what is that song from? Oh, I have a lyric in my head and I can't remember what Taylor Swift song. What song does she say "Slaying Dragons with You" in?
You're the Swiftie here.
I know. Oh my god. I did this the other day. I had to like sing a piece of a Taylor Swift song to one of my kids. And she was like, "Do you mean this song?" And I'm like, "Yes, thank you." Christ, Taylor Swift slaying dragons with you song. Long live. Oh my Christ, of
Oh,
course.
that's a great song.
Long live for her. And yeah, we'll stick with peace for Ari. Why not?
I love that. Okay, what about animals?
What kind of animals they are?
Yes.
I feel like Finn is a dog, but not like a golden retriever. Finn is like, I don't know, one of those dogs when you look at it and you're like, you're a little bit too intelligent to be a dog.
A German Shepherd.
Yeah, thank you. That one. Yep. He's a German Shepherd.
Mm-hmm.
Ari is a really tired Siamese cat. It's just done. And I feel we're just gonna go with the three. We'll just go with Sage as well. And Sage is a straight up just like sea otter or a puppy dog. Like
Cute.
I'm so excited to write her story because she's gonna have such a good character arc because she's such a naive little like I want to go on adventures right now, but
I love that.
it's gonna change.
I love that. Okay, and the last one. Cast them as ways of eating potatoes.
Oh, incredible. Sage is tater tots.
Yes.
I feel like Ari is a really, really good, expensive mashed potato. You know, like the really good whipped garlic ones. You know,
mm-hmm. With some nutmeg.
Oh yes,
yes.
And Ari. No, I just said Ari. Finn. They're the same in my head now. Apparently, I feel like he would be. He's. Yeah, in my head, I was just like, oh no, he's like that thing that your dad makes at the lake in the summer. It's the my dad likes to take potatoes and cuts up a ton of potatoes, cuts up a ton of like onions, carrots, whatever veg we literally have on hand, chucks it in this like there's one of those like tinfoil pans that you can kill at the end, and puts so much butter and like different flavorings and puts that on the barbecue. It tastes like summer to me, so that's what he is. That kind of potato.
So roasted. I love it.
Roasted potato, maybe is that what that is? I'm not sure, but that.
It's so much summer potatoes.
Summer potatoes.
Summer lake potatoes.
Just drenched. Oh shit! Hold on, my window's open. The wind.
You're realizing this too late. You're gonna be flooding. She's gonna swim back to this table. And just on the day her book is getting released. How outrageous. What if she never comes back? She drowned.
No, the rain just changed direction. It was fine for a while, but now it's hitting my window, and I was like, shit, because I left my window in my bedroom open, and I rolled my ankle when I got to the doorway, so I'm just having a dramatic day. I couldn't run back. Sorry about that.
And that is all I have to ask of you today.
Amazing.
Unless you have anything exciting to tell us or some parting words about this book that people are going to have in their hands soon.
I know.
All right.
Sophia, I'll tell you a secret because this is going up on the 15th.
Tell me.
You'll know before everyone else does, but it's live already on Amazon.
No way. What?
Yeah, I put it live. I submitted the paperback on Amazon a couple days ago because I know that KDP takes a bit to put it in their system. And last night it was like, we see this on other publishers. Please provide copyright information. And I'm like, got it, babe. I got you. So I sent the copyright to them. And then today I got the email that it was going to be in the system. So it's on the UK one live. I don't think it's live on the Canadian one, but the price has adjusted to the right price now because Ingram's pricing was stupid for a second. And the US one as well. They still say pre-order, but they're live. They'll change to live within minutes. So
I really hope we get it by Friday.
I don't know if you haven't gotten your shipping notification. I don't know if you will, but you might now that I've put it to live.
Maybe. And I saw while I was interviewing you, I saw a notification that Hannah said the book is up on the McNally catalog.
Oh my God. What?
Said that. Yeah.
What does she mean?
I have no idea. Maybe their website? Did she tag you? Or did...
Oh my God, no. SJ's has a delivery estimate already. Oh, it's her birthday. It's coming in on her birthday. That's why.
And it says your book comes up in a search on McNally's website.
What do you mean? Oh my God. Okay.
How exciting.
Okay, I guess to end this off, Sophia, is there anything that you want to know about this book, specifically about the content, the characters? I know you've asked me a ton of questions, but like,
I don't know. I'm very excited. I mean, I am a hopeless romantic, and I do love my romance. So I'm very excited, especially because I'm a sucker for established relationship. That is my trope. I love that dearly. So I am very excited to see like these intimate moments, you know. That is the most exciting thing that I'm looking forward to. But a question.
Yeah, as I think one of my early readers, basically, I think when they originally posted a TikTok about it, they were like partway through, and they're like, "I'm already been like kicking my feet and just giggling at it," and I'm like, "That's exactly it. That's exactly it."
Oh, that's gonna be my favorite part. I am so excited for that.
I'm so excited for you to know them. I think that's the coolest thing. You'll meet my boys. They've been living in my head for years.
I know, and like I have this very vague but distinct memory of back in school when I think it was what's it called? Tribune reading, and you read this little story, and it was kind of romantic. And ever since then, I was like, what the hell do you mean you don't want to write romance? Like, that was so good. Like, I need more of that.
Oh my God. I remember you telling me that after that reading. That was originally that piece. I remember writing that piece. I have these two characters in my head. They don't have names. They just live there rent free. And I've written a couple things about them. It's been a really long time, but outside weather is insane right now.
Yeah.
We're living in green world currently.
That's terrifying.
It's fine. It's fine. It wasn't hot today. It's okay. I tell myself this because I'm living on a second floor condo. So if there's a tornado, I'm screwed. But yeah, that specific story that was originally started as a like, the character, the girl, is immortal. So she's been living so many different lives. But she's in the moment of like, when she lives these different lives, because she doesn't change, she has to like remove herself from people's lives. And so she's like falling in love with this man, and she's remembering it. But it ended up being me just being like, no, I just want her to be going home to him. Like, I don't want her to be sad. So it was just, the framing of the walking through like a New York City kind of dark, dingy in the middle of winter when it's gross and cold to the warm sunshine vibe. But yeah, and I love writing romance. I think what I was scared of writing romance is being able to plot it right. Because as someone who has not experienced romance in my life, I don't know, right? I don't know it. All I know is what I've lived through books and movies and TV shows. So it's a matter of doing that. But when you told me in that tribute reading, you're like, that is the most, like, it was so beautiful. I was like, amazing. That's exactly what I wanted.
I don't even remember that. It's so bizarre.
I know.
It was just so, and I was like, so shocked that you didn't want to write romance. Like, that wasn't like a goal of yours. I was like, what do you mean? You
like,
wrote
straight up romance books are fine, and I might write one day. But the thing is, everything that I write needs to have magic in it, because I just love magic so much.
That's fine. That's why I'm excited for a second story, because I think it's gonna have a good bit of romance.
Yeah, like the relationship is the main. Yeah, the relationship is the main issue. Like, there's not like you're reading Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson, where there's like, world politics in the way. Like, this is about them.
For that.
I think A Little Luck as well was interesting, because that one was a fully me having to write the relationship starting, and I've never done that before. Because this one, you get the relationship like sort of starting in part 1, and then part 2 it's established 8 months later, because I didn't want to write them like falling in love. I'm like, no, they're already in love. Get to it. But A Little Luck is Sapphic slow burn. So like you have to wait for the kiss until the last fucking minute of the book, right? So it's like, who can I do this well enough, right? So I think maybe one day I might eventually write a romance with a little bit of magic in it. I think it'd be kind of cool, but who knows? Who knows?
I love that.
Oh, the cat's in the way too. Just the little ears. Which one is that?
Him, I think. Listen, it's hard. No, it's her.
Oh my god. I gotta clarify. Sophia's got 2 little babies, and they're both orange, and they look the same.
Her brother and sister. It's really hard.
Yeah, unless they're standing next to each other, then you can tell like which one's Juno, because Juno's a lot lighter than Milo is. But sweeties. Oh my god. I guess to end us off, pick a page between 1 and 266, and I'll read you something from it.
How lame is it if I pick 69?
It's been done.
Damn it. Wait, and 2 something you said?
266.
121.
Ooh, okay. Let me find it. 121 is the beginning of chapter 21 called Tiny Arcane Lights. This is a Finian chapter. Ari held his bag of holding open with one hand and began to clear space in one of the back rooms of the bookstore with his other, books spiraling up in a steady stream of magically moving objects. He flicked his wrist so that the mouth of the maroon bag sagged open further, large enough to fit an entire watermelon as they disappeared into it, silently adjusting themselves inside. Finn moved alongside Ari, sweat starting to bead down his collarbone and down his back as he hauled the heavy shelves out of the way, straightening a few of them along the walls. Finn took a step back and looked at his work, marveling at how a bit of cleaning and reorganizing could transform a space. That's an easy way to clean, commented Sage, walking into the room carrying a small cabinet. I wish I knew how to do something like that. All I've got is tiny little druid powers, but most of the time I can just grow flowers out of things. That's more than I can do, grunted Finn, stepping back from the monster of a shelf that he had managed to shift into place. There's nothing like feeling slightly useless than watching your partner magic something in 2 seconds that would have taken you an hour. What exactly is your plan here, Ari?
That's so cute! I love them already.
Yes.
I'm so excited to read it.
Are you experiencing the same weather that I am right now?
My God, the thunder.
It's a constant rumble. There is so much rain happening right now. The world looks white from the rain.
I'm scared.
Holy shit.
We might not make it to tomorrow.
Oh my God, we'll be washed away. Anyways, oh my goodness. Thank you so much, Sophia, for doing this. This has been so fun. Oh my God.
Me.
Oh, I will have you back again because I want to talk about like book talk stuff because you're active on book talk and stuff. But yeah, I guess to finish us off, where can people find you? What would you like to tell the crowds?
You can find me on Book Talk. Fair warning, I read almost exclusively romance and some like pretentious literary fiction.
It's the English major in us. So you got to do it sometimes.
Sometimes I need to feel pretentious, and I think I am entitled to that.
Yes.
Because I worked really hard for my degrees.
You got pieces of paper to confirm it. Yes.
Yes. So you can find me at Puss in Books. Hopefully you can link that.
I will put it in the down bar, yeah. Because I think Puss in Books, like the O's are zeros, right?
They are.
Okay.
They are.
I will put it in the down bar.
Taken, so it's fine. It's fine.
Rude. Rude of them.
Yeah. But yeah, that's about it.
Oh my God. I'm so glad you did this. I had this wacky, weird idea of like, what if I had someone interview me?
Well, it's about time. I think it's good for you to be on the receiving end on the hot chair.
Yes.
Me asking you questions.
Oh my God. And you know I love talking. So it's
Me
good.
too.
But yes, this is not the end of Sophia on my channel. You will see her again. I love it. I love it so much. But yes, my friends, a second story is out now. You can go order it anywhere. You can order through your local indie, like our friend did. Our friend Hannah did. She went to McNally and was like, can I have this? I'm losing my voice. I've talked a little bit too much today.
For good reason. For good reason.
Truly, it's for good reason. I filmed a full video before this too, so like I am like just all the things. But yes, oh my gosh, thank you, Sofia, for being here. You're the best. And to all the rest of you, thank you so much for hanging out with us as we got slowly more unhinged and the weather's starting to drown us outside. But I hope you enjoy the podcast, and I hope you enjoy my children, and you all fall in love with Ari and Finn as I have. And I'll catch you guys in another one very soon. Stay kind and keep on reading. Goodbye.
Bye.